When Neville revealed these 5 words in 1967, one woman fled the lecture hall. She stood so suddenly, her seat snapped upright, the sound cutting through the room. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She just realized her entire life had been a lie. Those 5 words came from a secret Abdullah whispered to Neville 36 years earlier. A secret so powerful, Abdullah made him swear never to reveal it until the world was ready. That night, in 1967, Neville decided they were ready to hear what Abdullah shown him. Before this is over, you'll hear those same 5 words. 5 words that don't just shift reality. They bend human behavior around your assumptions. Someone who never texts or calls will suddenly reach out. Someone who's cold, suddenly softening. Someone who's distant, suddenly remembering you exist. They won't know why, but you will. Neville warned, "You're about to control how others behave toward you. Use this power with responsibility." Neville used this 5-word law himself when he met his second wife. In 1936, he sees a woman at a party. She's polite but cold, distant, zero interest. Most men would chase, try to impress. He remembered the 5 words and applied them. The next night, she calls. No explanation, just needed to hear his voice. Months later, they're married. They have a daughter. He used the 5 words in the quiet of his room, and the cold version of her vanished. A different her showed up.
I met my wife in 1936. I knew she was the one I wanted to marry, but she showed no interest in me. Within weeks, her complete indifference turned to interest, and interest to love.
But Abdullah was different. He didn't practice the principle. He radiated it. He lived in the 5-word state, and people moved like actors hitting their cues. Abdullah approached the theater in 1933, Broadway. The show is sold out to the last seat. He walks to the box office, meets the clerk's gaze, and asks for 2 seats. Center orchestra, not balcony, not side aisle. Seats a black man in that era was never meant to sit in, yet the clerk doesn't blink. He hands the tickets over as if it's the most natural thing in the world. Ushers see him enter. A moment of disbelief, then they step aside. Everyone around him simply accepts it, as if they were following a script he had already written in his mind. Neville watched it happen. Watched people rearrange themselves around one man's state.
Abdullah, a black man in 1930, walked into places where men of his race were not welcomed. I watched him do it. He'd go to the opera, the theater, sold out, no tickets, and ask for the best seats in the house. Ushers who should have stopped him stepped aside. People who should have questioned him stayed silent. He moved in the assumption of being welcomed, and the world rearranged itself to match.
Neville later asked how any of it was possible. Abdullah didn't explain. He just repeated the 5 words he'd whispered to Neville years earlier. Neville heard them, but he didn't understand, not yet. Not until he lost his dream home. In 1952, he found the perfect home. Spanish tile, ocean air, everything he wanted. He walked it once and lived in it for weeks in imagination. Felt the cool brass doorknobs, heard his footsteps on those floors. It was done. Then a single splinter of thought. What if someone outbids me? He dismissed it. Too late. 3 days later, the realtor called. It's gone. A cash buyer appeared out of nowhere. A stranger. Sudden. Perfectly timed. Neville never met a rival. He met his own doubt wearing a man's face. Neville stared at the phone after that call, and for the first time, he understood Abdullah's warning.
I began to imagine myself living in that house. Then doubt set in. And that doubt materialized into a person with more money than I had, and he bought the house and left me out in the cold.
He used to think people were people, independent, choosing, separate. No, they were states, versions, expressions of his own consciousness. People didn't act from their nature, they acted from his state. Confidence became allies. Fear became obstacles. Doubt became competitors. Not because they decided anything, but because his state wrote their role. And that's when the 5 words finally clicked.
Everyone is you pushed out.
A woman turned, startled. Everywhere she looked, she found another version of herself.
The behavior of the other person is your assumption about him made visible. What you believe of another, you bring out in him, for he can do nothing to you that you do not allow in your imagination. The whole vast world is yourself pushed out. All that you behold, though it appears without, it is within, in your imagination, of which this world of mortality is but a shadow. Do you know a friend who is in trouble? You represent that state in your imagination. If you don't like the state, don't condemn the friend. The friend is only bearing witness to the state that you represent. Change the state in your imagination, represent him to yourself as the man you would like him to be, and to the degree that you are self-persuaded he will conform to it.
Someone in the audience asked about influence, about manipulation. Neville cut through that immediately.
The moment you think of influence, you reduce a miracle to magic. You're not influencing anyone, you're not manipulating anyone. You are simply becoming aware of who you really are, the only cause, the only power operating in your world.
This isn't about controlling others. It's about realizing others were never separate from you to control.
Others only echo that which we whisper to them in secret. And what is that whisper? It is the inner conversations you hold about them in your mind.
That whisper never stops. Every thought about them, every assumption, every inner conversation where you decide who they are to you, they must echo it. They have no choice, because they're not them in your world. They're you, pushed out. Here's what's actually happening. Every person exists in infinite states simultaneously. The version that cherishes you, the version that ignores you, the version that respects you, the version that dismisses you. All real, all available, all existing right now. Your assumption is the selector, like a radio with infinite stations, all broadcasting at once. You don't create the stations. You select which one plays in your reality. Here's what changes once you know these 5 words. Once you understand EIYPO, blame dissolves. Not because everything is your fault, but because everything is your assumption pushed out. The person who disappointed you? You were selecting the version who would. The one who never notices you? Your assumption wrote that role. The one who loves you best? You allowed that version to appear. You weren't doing this deliberately. You weren't even aware of it. But you were selecting every day without knowing. Now you know. You want to test this? Tonight, before sleep. Think of your person. Feel them loving you, respecting you, choosing you, not hoping, not wishing, selecting. Feel it as fact until your body believes it, until your nervous system accepts it, until there's no difference between imagination and memory.
The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the secret. Feel it. Feel it naturally. Feel it to the point where it seems that it is true.
When you see them tomorrow, when they text, when you think of them, you stay in the assumption.
Persist in the assumption and it will harden into fact. You are creating the circumstances and the conditions of your life by your assumptions.
You don't slip back into the old story. You don't wait for them to prove it. You know which version you selected. You hold that knowing. Don't chase, don't convince, don't explain. Just know which version is in front of you now. Over the next few days, sometimes the next few hours, watch the cracks appear in the old version of them. A message they never would have sent, a sudden softness, a line from a version of them you've never met, and they'll swear it was their idea. I don't know why, but I felt like reaching out. I've been thinking about you, but you'll know what really happened. You didn't change them. You didn't persuade them. You didn't influence them. You selected a different version from the infinite versions already available. And in your reality, They have no choice but to become it. Same person, different station. Your selection.
Change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live.
Because the world isn't separate from you. The people aren't separate from you. There are no others. There never were. There was only you, wearing 7 billion faces, playing 7 billion roles, meeting yourself in every person you've ever known. Everyone is you pushed out. And once you know this, really know this, you'll never beg for love, attention, or respect, because there's no one else to beg. Just you, selecting the version you meet. Wondering how this teaching actually benefits you? Watch what happens when ordinary people apply EIYPO in real life. Mark was the worst salesman every month. "You're washed up," his colleagues told him. Then he assumed every person who stepped onto the lot was already a buyer. Now he's the top salesman in the company. Ryan shared his business ideas with a friend who always shut them down. He changed the assumption to, "My friend supports me." Next conversation, his friend said, "You know what? I actually think you're onto something. I'll fund this. So, comment below. How will you use this law tonight? Who will you reselect? Drop their initials and the version you're choosing. Choose their state, and that is the one that appears. And subscribe, because next, we go beyond people to shifting timelines.
There is no one to change but self. For the other, though he appears without, is within you. He is the personified version of your own feeling and belief. Your consciousness is the only reality. As you adjust it, people will take on the attitudes you have assumed. Practice the art of imagining, and you will discover you can go anywhere and enter any time without the aid of anyone. Move in your imagination, and people will respond because of your action. Dare to assume you are wealthy, and watch everyone play their parts to provide you with the wealth you claim to have. They will, for they are only yourself pushed out.